Hi everybody. What we're going to be doing in this review is looking at the cityscapes in three-point perspective. And in the cityscape, you were creating four buildings and with windows and doors, and then um, adding some either changing planes or angles or both, and just kind of filling out the composition with various details. Okay, so let's get started. Anna. Yeah, every assignment has its own challenges, but I think you did a nice job with this overall. Um, Starting with the buildings, I think the only thing I see here that could be adjusted here is this line right here that you have here would actually be connected from this vanishing point. So it would actually be, this is how it would be lining up. Um, your changing planes look pretty good. And so other things that you could do is, I would just say, it's great that you're following along with the video. I really encourage that. But I think it's always good to be adding your own shapes, or, in this case, some of your own buildings into the drawing so that you actually are moving away from the tutorial a little bit, because you will find that once you're free forming, creating your own compositions, that's where you're really, I think, learning the most. So, for example, you've got like all this space in here, so I might just erase this tree right here. Just continue working here on your scape, add a few more buildings in wherever you can, maybe back, back here beyond, behind these, just to kind of continue to develop your design a little bit more. Maybe you could do a little building here. I don't know if these trees are working so well, so I might be inclined to take them out and maybe adding some structures in there instead, just to kind of fill that out. Okay, so I think that's the main thing to keep working with. Rebecca. All right. Yeah, this looks good here. Everything looks very accurate the way you have it converging. Your changing planes and angles looks really good. Um, so I would basically, I guess, say the same thing as Brianna, which is, maybe just add a few more buildings somewhere. Maybe you've got some room in here. You could remove that tree or put them in here. Just sort of kind of develop it a little bit more away from the tutorial. I think that's all you really need to do here. Um, maybe work a little bit more on your shrubbery. Um, One thing to keep in mind is, I think whenever you're working with additional elements that are beyond the structures and the roads and things like trees and people, is to keep it light and a little looser. So rather than going so heavily, kind of make it a little wispier. Um, and that way you'll, kind of keep the attention on the buildings just a little bit more. Okay, that's it. Everything else looks really good. Lisa, I'm just going to do an auto color here to see if I could brighten it up a little bit. That looks a little bit better. Let's just a little bit larger here. Okay. Let's see here. So it looks like your first vanishing point is here. And okay, so here's your horizon line here. That. And let's see. And then your other horizon line looks to be, So this is your horizon line. So you want your vanishing point to be somewhere on here. So you've got this one here. So to me, it looks like perhaps you didn't get a vanishing point on the right-hand side. So somewhere on this right-hand side, outside of, this plane, like we want to have let's just take and put our vanishing point here. So this side here, all of this side here would vanish to that point here. So the top of this building, for example. So I think that looks to me like the main thing here. It's a little hard to see. So like this building here. So it looks like maybe that's what happened to your drawing, is that you were missing that point. Um, so things got a little bit wonky in your drawing. So I would just say, start again. make sure you set it up so you've got two vanishing points on your horizon line. You've got the one down here, so that's good. I think you've done a good job here vanishing your buildings down here, maybe with the exception of this one over here, and then maybe this one here. So I would just practice a little bit more. Practice with the tutorial just a little bit more. Just use the tutorial composition and just practice it, and then you can go and do your own. Because I think you've got a really good start here to a composition. You just need to work a little bit more on the perspective. And then make sure you're also adding in a good example of changing angles or planes. I think you've got to start here with this road. You just want to make sure it changes angles and planes. And there's a separate video on that in the assignment, which I think is really good, and you can use to practice with. Okay, so that's what I'd work on a little bit more. Brina, footprinting helped. Yes, it does, doesn't it? Getting your footprint set out first really, really makes such a difference when you have so many different lines. Yep, everything looks really good here. You said that you maybe had a little bit of problem with the building on the left, and to me, it looks really, really accurate. Let's see. So this looks great here. And let's see, your vanishing point here is it here? Yeah. Yeah, that looks great. I think it's just because it's getting so extreme, right? Like the point here seems so dramatic. Yeah, I think this looks really good. I like the additional building you added here. That looks really good. It's always nice to just when you have these cityscapes, just add a few kind of rectangles and build more of a complex. Um, you've got some really nice roads here. I like the way you developed this one off to the left so that it goes behind the buildings and peeks out, and also just the kind of way you've worked a little creatively with the horizon line. Um, yeah, I don't see anything you need to do here. It all looks really good. And yeah, if you can, maybe it actually looks really pretty in focus. I would maybe just adjust the color a little bit. It's not bad. Just a little bit of that photoshopping, I think you'd be done. Yeah, this looks really good. I like what you did here with your compositions. Very original. The building here, fills the space. You really have a very nice, precise line work. It's beautiful. Your buildings here and also the changing angles and planes. I like what you did here with just the stripe down the center. It just gives it a little bit of character, and your horizon line as well. Yeah, this looks great. I don't really see anything to improve in your design. I think you've done a nice job with it. Good work. Right. Yeah, overall, I think you did a nice job with this. Um, Here is your vanishing point here. So all of your windows are moving over. Yeah, that looks really good. Yeah, I think you did a nice job here. And you mentioned that, so you mentioned that you didn't know how to put the buildings beside each other. There really is no reason, really, in terms of the assignment to do that, unless you want to. But to do that, it's actually what Sabrina said, where she said that footprints really helped her in this assignment. And that's, so for example, you have the building down here. Let's just use this building right. Let's see if I can get my little line here. So here's this building right here. Let's just create that footprint, which you probably did already when you created it, but let's just put that down here. And okay, so there's our footprint here. So now we can see where it is on the ground. And then if we wanted to create something beside it, like let's say a building right next to it, all we would have to do here is go and create another wherever you want that building to be right here, for example. So now we have that footprint, and you can see that part of the building is going to be hidden. And then we just draw the building, using guidelines as necessary, invisible guidelines, but you can start to see, let's just make it a little bit shorter here. And so you would just build it like that, the rectangle, just build it from the ground up. And then we could, take it back to here and across. So we could just sort of build this little building tucked in there. Okay, so you can see that. So you can see it's just like little squares on the ground or rectangles, and that's how you would create them next to each other. Okay, and then you asked about the road, and yeah, the way you've drawn it here is so you have it. Um, so you can always start your road by vanishing off to a point here. Let's just vanish it to this point right back here. And then at this point, this is where you draw your hinge, which I think you did. And then you can just, if you're just doing changing planes, which it looks like what you did here. Well, let's just make this a little bit more even here. So this goes across wherever you want it to end and make a new direction. And if you're just going to do changing angles, which is looks like what you did here, then you would just pick another point. Let's just pick a point right here that we're going to vanish it to. And then now we've got a new point here that we're going to just go to, just like that. It's sort of similar to what you did, just a few refinements. And then we're going to make the hinge again. And let's go to your point right there. And then just draw it in to finalize it right there. But of course you could keep moving it along. So that's the structure. Yeah, so if you want to, you could probably put another road right in here, if you like. You know, to sort of continue it here, right here, we could also just kind of go back to this vanishing point. You just would use your vanishing points. Let's just do them here, which you did, and here. Yeah, so that's it. So really all changing planes all they really are is instead of going back to the vanishing points at the sides, we're just changing where it's vanishing to it. You know, it's still in perspective, it's still in 3-point perspective. It doesn't just follow the same kind of grid, like this grid that we've created for the 2 points from the beginning. I don't know if that makes sense, but if there's another way I can think of to explain it better, but hopefully that's helped, at least in terms of the construction part. And the videos I think are really good too if you want to just review those again. So finally, what you could probably do with your composition perhaps is just maybe add a few more details. It feels like there's a little bit of room here that you could maybe, I don't know, maybe do something with the horizon line, you know, change that a little bit, or add a few clouds, or you know, even you could have a few more roads back here just to kind of maybe add a little bit more detail. That's it. Okay, Yesenia, a little bit more difficult, yeah. And you were confused about the changing planes of where the different vanishing points without making the street not look too distorted, as well as the foliage. Yeah, okay. Let's see. All right, yeah, that looks good. Very nice. You've got your buildings here, a lot of nice detail, and your road looks really good. And so to me, yeah, your road looks great, I think. Let's just see here. Oops, well, I'll just keep the line here. So this is just going to go back, it's going back here. So you've got changing planes, or it looks like you've got actually some changing, uh, what I always get them confused. I think I've been meaning to say changing angles, and I've said changing planes. You've got changing planes where it's actually changing your levels, and you know it does look a little distorted because of the way it's done. It's just that I think it just looks a little weird when you do it, but you did it correctly, and I think it looks good, you know, from my objective eyes. I sometimes when you construct things look a little bit wonky the way you're looking at it. I think everything looks good. You know, with the foliage, you know, if you don't want to work with foliage, you could just add other details. It doesn't have, you don't have to use foliage for this class. It's in a way that's a whole nother kind of drawing method that we're not really spending a whole lot of time in this class. If you want to learn more about drawing foliage, you can Google things like, let's actually do a Google here. So I just Googled trees architecture. You could also kind of add the keyword drawing in and see if that gives you anything more interesting. And you can, so yeah, you can see that there's actually quite a lot of just sort of different, you could pick the ones that you like sort of styles of drawing trees that I think work really well in perspective drawing. So you could try that if you want to, or leave them out of your drawing, that's okay. Instead maybe you could just add in, who knows, like a little building here or little details, little rocks, or something that is rectangular that you can build in perspective. you know you could add little structures here, rectangular structures, make up something. But yeah, okay, that's it. I think everything's looking really good. Okay, Bruce, well, happy New Year to you as well. um, yeah, I've been seeing that Chinese New Year. um, I hope you had a good time whatever you did. Okay, this looks good. Yeah, look, nice job here. I think it looks very accurate, and got your changing planes here and some angles, which look great. So I would just say maybe, if you want to, you could add a few more buildings, maybe back here or to the side, just to kind of, again, break away a little bit from the video. But I think overall it's really good use of perspective. Um, okay, I think pretty much everybody is getting a good handle on this. As always, keep practicing. Once we leave this module of three-point perspective this week, you can revisit it in the final project, but you won't have to if you don't want to. So you can, kind of focus a little bit more on 1 or 2 point. So as I mentioned before, once we finish the 3 weeks, this preliminary 3 weeks, we will just start practicing the forms, and you'll have some choices about what you want to do with that. Okay, all right. Well, I will see you next week.